Hello and welcome. I'll just give a few seconds for people to start coming into the room here. In the meantime, it would be super interesting to know where you're watching from today. So I'm sitting in Munich. Irene, I believe, is in Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Hello, Renee. Hamburg. Very nice. Vienna, Berlin. Ossi. So we're just scattered across the DACH region right now. Very cool. Baltic Sea, also very nice. Lovely. So just quickly to the agenda, I will do a short intro to Malt for those of you who are new to Malt or don't know of it or are wondering what or who is Malt. Then I will hand over to our speaker, Irene, who's here today. She'll be talking about amplifying workplace communication with 6 dynamic styles. So very interesting topic. And then there's time for Q&A with Irene. So we do have some time at the end. You can put your questions into the chat and whatnot. My name is Rebecca, and I'm a community team lead for the DACH region at Malt. I'm responsible together with my colleague Khan for organizing events and webinars for the DACH region for our freelance community. For those of you who don't know about Malt, Malt was founded about 10 years ago by 2 freelancers, and it's a platform that was created by freelancers for freelancers. So wanting to give freelancers more choice in who they're working with, how they're working with, from where, for what price, etc., etc. Meanwhile, today, Malt actually has around 600,000 freelancers and more than 70,000 clients that are using Malt to upload their projects to. And why, as a freelancer, would you work on Malt? So it's a better way to come into contact with different clients that you might not be able to come into contact with your own network. You can focus on your work and not your administrative tasks. So it's an all-in-one tool where you can submit your quotes, have your invoices generated, etc. Fast and secure payment. So payment is typically only takes a few days as projects are pre-financed. And then, of course, we're a freelancer first community, so we put a lot of emphasis and value into creating events like this that are free for our freelance community to have. And we always welcome feedback if you have content requests, if you think there's a topic that will be interesting for you or for other freelancers to know more about, to have more information on, then please feel free to let us know. And here are just some of the 70,000 plus clients who are using Malt to find talent for their projects. And that's it from my side. And with that being said, I will hand over to Irene. I'm just going to get her slides up. And Irene, I'll keep an eye on the chat as well. So if any questions pop up, then feel free to answer them right away if you'd like to, or keep them to the end. But I can gather them all for you.
Okay, great. So I hope microphone, everything is working. So hi, my name is Irene. So I am gonna teach you or give you a little bit ideas about what is 6 process communication model, and this 6 different type of communication model. So if you want to connect me on LinkedIn or want to check our website now, it's your chance. Of course, in the end, we're still gonna have this slide again so that you can connect with me on LinkedIn. So I'm a career leadership and business coach. And a little bit about myself. So I have lived in Europe for over 13 years, and I have studied both in Germany and in France, and I started working startup like 10 years ago. maybe 12 years ago. And then I have led different teams from marketing, business development to product management. And I also work in between seed to Series B stage. And then I also started my own company that was in an education, media, tech space that I sold it because I would like to focus on coaching. So I've been working as a coach for the last 4 years. We have a team of 10 coaches because we'll build a platform for coaches and also for our clients. Yeah. So next one. A little bit of philosophy about how I do the coaching. So I combine a lot of neurology, psychology, and behavioral science into my coaching, and also very focused on building the communication and art of storytelling. And that's how I focus on helping my clients to achieve their results. So I want to share you about the testimony that I got last week. I ran another workshop, webinar with another company, and then the audience were really impressed. I used for another scenario. I used for the job searching scenario, and they really liked about this communications models that I learned. And this is another client that I had helped with, and that really helped them to switch from academic to data scientist job in biotech. Okay, so now we're going to the agenda. So we're gonna start from the history of process communication model, because I find this is a very interesting story to share, like a movie trailer. So I'm always want to share the story, and then we'll go into what are the 6 styles there are, and how do you connect with each of the style. Which one do you have as a dominant style? And actually something's wrong here. How do you implement into so today's is about using as a freelancer. So you can use for interview, because you also need an interview to get the freelancer jobs. And also you can connect with your colleagues, so that help you better. So process communication model is developed by Dr. Keller, and it was developing between 60 to 19. And it's to improve communication between individuals by recognizing and addressing their unique personality types and the communication style. And you can use in various fields, including psychology, education, business, personal development, workspace. So there are a lot of places that you can use that. So the story behind of this PCM is that in the 60s, 70s, NASA was developing this Apollo mission, which is send people to moon. Okay, astronaut, not normal people. And then they had this challenge between the ground staffs and the astronauts. They couldn't really communicate each other very well, but that would be a really big problem, really hindered our project, right? So NASA hired Dr. Keller to closely working with all the staff and astronaut. So after like 10 years of like developing this, he published a book or a series about the communication model. And then he continue refine the whole story, a whole series of the 6 styles in the 80s, 90s, and then started to apply into various fields. And then starting in 2000, he founded this like foundation for PCN, and he started to train people, and then people can grow this process communication model, and it's being applied in everywhere. So a lot of previous president in the US, they all did this kind of training, such as Hillary or Clinton. Yeah, so next. Now we're gonna jump into the 6 style. And what are the 6 of them? So I always like to start with thinker, because thinker is the easiest to recognize. Thinker, they are very data and fact driven. So they are always communicate in a way like, I think. They use word think. And they are always very analytical. They are very logical. Very often, I found out that engineers I used to work with, they are thinker. Data scientists, they are thinker, because they always very data and fact driven. They want to talk about logical information, and in order to connect with them, so you need to provide more logical information. You need to be prepared to answer their question with accuracy, and they also like to discuss solution for the challenges. The next one, persister. Persister, I call it value driven. So they are being, a lot of their drive is on the belief, it's on values, and they are usually, when they talk, they very often start with sentence, I believe, or in my opinion. And they are very responsible, they are very organized, they are also very detail oriented. And in order to connect with them, you want to show that you respect their responsibility. And you want to provide a very clear expectation. And to talk project, to talk something with them, you want to discuss the goal and process. And when it comes to work together, they are more focused on finding the best approach. So you see, there are some similarity here between persistent and thinker. They both like to find solution, but in a different way. One is more focused on goal, progress. One is more focused on solving the challenge. Yeah. So usually the two partner together could be also a very good team. Next, harmonizer. I call it empathy driven. So they are very caretaker in the team. So they always start with I feel. And they are very empathetic, caring, sensitive. So in order to connect with them, you want to show the empathy. You want to listen actively. You want to show that you appreciate them and use some inclusive language. In order to work with them well, you want to invite them to collaborate so they feel that being included. Of course, they are definitely a very good team member. So if you are building a team, it's always nice to have someone that who take care of the member, right? So that's harmonizer. Then is promoter. They are very typical, very often a lot of motivational speaker or entrepreneur could be a promoter because they are very energetic, they're very enthusiastic, and very charismatic. And in order to connect with them, you want to highlight that exciting opportunity. You want to have similar level of energy, enthusiasm, and you want to share them success stories that motivate people to, keep going. And the next one, rebel. I call it creative driven. They are very creative, very spontaneous, very fun-loving. So they usually like to start the sentence like, this is fun, cool. So I used to work in one big gaming publisher company. And I used to have a lot of colleagues that are actually rebel. And they would come in on Monday morning and they just want to chat and say next to me, hey, Irene, how was your weekend? What did you do? Anything fun? And then I would be like, oh, I want to work. I want to focus. It's Monday, okay? It's Monday morning. Let me focus on my work. And I would be like, oh, don't talk to me right now. But then I learned that actually then they are rebel. And so if I was aware of that, I could probably connect them better. Yeah. So in order to connect with them, you want to keep it playful, you want to keep it in fun, you want to give them space to talk about their ideas, to express their creativity. And you all should also be more open to the spontaneous in order to connect with them. Next one, imaginer. I call it visual driven. So I don't know if you have ever met any colleague or friends like that. When you ask them, so how was your weekend? Then they start to like, so my weekend was, they are a bit slow because they have to focus on their visual images first. And then they can tell you, yeah, then I did this, I did that. And so in the past, I also work with a lot of designer like that. So they have a lot of like visual effect in their brand, and usually that's also a very good designer candidate because they can draft out what they have in mind when we do brainstorming session or something like that. That was very helpful too. But then on the other hand, you want to give them that space and time. So you don't want to push them like you need to give them space and time so that they can have that express what they have in their mind. And because of that, they're very easy to lost in their mind with all those images. So you also want to give it out a clear instructions to bring them back to what you were talking about. And on the other hand, you want to give them time to reflect, and you want to sharing more inspiring content that would help to connect with image. So I think now I would be very interested to know which one is your style, which one is your best communication style. So if you feel like, oh, I have this, I have that, which is totally common. We all have very different, we all usually have all 6 of them. But the point is the most important, maybe the top of your dominated communication style. So, yeah. Hamburg, Vienna. Hi from Berlin. Yes. Neustadt also. Munich. Okay. Somewhere between. So the top 2. Yeah. Don't disrespect to me as well. Ken is definitely. Yeah, I think Ken could be a promoter. Like, promoter will be dominant. Okay, we have a lot of promoters. You know, usually I find out a lot of people who work in tech are thinker, persister. Promoter, a bit harmonizer also. Yeah. Promoter. Wow, we have a lot of promoter here. Interesting. Just the example of the personality structure, that's not mine. But the next slide we can explain a little bit more. So anyone still want to give a try? I don't believe we don't have a thinker and a persister here today, really. Usually there are a lot of thinker and persister. If you think you're still not quite sure because there are some key traits that you cannot define it's a persister or a thinker, or then you can feel free to write out the question. We can come back to answer later. Yeah. Cool. Then I'll move on to the next one. So the basic principle is you have one dominant communication style, like the graph showed. So there's a base and face. But something very interesting here is that you can also change your style, depends on your individual situation. So you could be one style now, but change to another one according to your environment and so on. So here I have an example myself. Now after I learned about this, because I did the whole analysis, answer like 45 minutes question and to find out which one I am. And I am persister. And then my second highest is thinker. And then the third one, I think it's promoter. Yeah. And then I reflected my childhood. I don't think I was ever a thinker. I think I was trained to be a thinker because I work very early. I already started work with a lot of engineer. So I had to switch my communication style because otherwise I couldn't connect with them. I couldn't lead them, right? Then working in a startup is also working tech is all about data driven. Then I started to become very analytical and talk with all the data and facts. And then that became my second dominant communication style. But I don't think I was born and grew up to be. I think I was trained to be the last 10 years. But then persister was always there. I think I was always in my opinion, I believe. So that I definitely knew, but you can also reflect a little bit as your childhood, and now is that your environment shift how you communicate. Yeah. And then it's very important to know the top three of them, how to take advantage, how are the strengths of these top three, how do you better use at workplace, and how to be more aware of your button, and then you can connect with more people. For example, I realized I was definitely the least rebel, especially in the workplace, right? So, but then I still have some rebel colleagues, and I would like to connect with them. Not people, everybody think that I'm, very hard to connect with and something like that. So that's definitely something I have learned after this communication style. Next. So now we want to come to the how part. How do you implement into as a freelancer or in a workplace? So the first, identify your client's communication style. So you can probably start to think about who is the biggest client that you have right now, and what is their communication style. Feel free to share. I'm happy to see what are the people that you're dealing with. And then you want to adapt your communication according to your client's communication in order to connect more. So if you're working with thinker, you want to bring up that data, that facts. You want to discuss the challenge with a solution. You want to be as logical, as analytical as possible, right? So that's how you want to connect with thinker. With persister, you want to appreciate their responsibility. You want to talk about progress and goal. With promoter, with imaginer, it's good to present with like some visual effects for them to understand better and faster. Yeah. And with rebel, you want to give them some space of creativity. With harmonize, you want to talk about, encourage them to talk about their feeling. How do they feel? Yeah. So that's how you want to connect with different style. So yeah, I have given some example here already. I think it could be a very interesting question for you to think about. If your client is a thinker, harmonizer, promoter, how do you want to craft your message differently? And then the next step is like your deliverable, right? So you want to tailor your deliverable in a very different way. So thinker appreciate detailed report. So if you want to show your deliverable, then you want to give them more detailed data and report so that everything is more organized and for them to see. While promoter, they prefer visual presentation. So maybe you want to focus on infographic and more the big visual stuff for them to understand better. So I have recently working with one performance marketer to like upgrade our websites, like marketing game and stuff like that. And she asked me that how do I want the deliverable to be shown? And of course, if she learns about this communication style, so she probably would just choose the one that would be like a procedure, what procedure like. We would like to see the progress, we want to go and be oriented. So that would actually really help you to get a better results or achieve your goal a bit easier in terms of changing your deliverable, right? And then the next, address distress patterns. So here, I think usually we don't have a lot of time in webinar to go through the distress and the challenge patterns. So when you learn PCM, like this is a very short introduction, but if you go deeper, you will learn each styles, especially when you manage people, because I think it's a very good leadership management tool, that every style has their challenge. Every style has their distress pattern. They have first degree stress, the second degree stress. So you can imagine as a manager, if you already see your team member is having the first distress pattern, you probably really want to not push to the second level, right? Because then the whole team dynamic and the work result would not be good anymore. So in that case, that's one we learn distress pattern and challenges. We don't have a lot of time to go through everything here, but I can give you a quick for example, like for thinker, if you are talking a lot about the feeling, it won't work with them, right? And for example, so if the challenge would be for them would be understand other people's feeling, but then it can show that they are a little bit not very empathetic, right? So that's their challenge. And then for promoter, you see there are always big picture on the stage talking about motivate people, but then they could be less detail oriented, which means if you work with them, if they are your boss, sometimes if you want to get more detailed plan how to carry out, you won't get enough. And then that might also create some tension between, right? I had a client like this. She's a thinker, she worked with her boss that's promoter, and she wants all the detail, logical thing, and her boss was just be there and talking about all the big pictures. And then so it didn't really work out very well for them. But once she learned about this, then she knows, oh, she can actually tell him as early as possible about, for example, oh, I need you carry a more detailed plan from you, and something like that. And you can imagine, for example, for Rebel would be if we don't give them space for creativity, if they are bored with their work. So I think a lot of times, a lot of freelancers also are Rebel because they cannot really stay in the workplace. They prefer their freedom and everything. Yeah. Build trust and rapport. So I think it's a very good tool for you to connect with other people. Like I said, me as persistent thinker and connect with a Rebel. And that can build, when you have the better connection, you can build a better trust and rapport. So definitely that's another step you can be aware of. And then also very important here is conflict resolution, right? So whether we work with colleague, whether we work with client, there are always some mismatched, misaligned goal, result, performance, or communication, right? But by understanding this, you can address all those conflicts with better approach. So, for example, thinker, you want to use a more structured approach. And with harmonize, you want to engage more with empathetic cogent. So ask them about how they feel, so that they feel they are being included, right? Invite them to collaborate more so they don't feel too out of the team and out of the whole situation. The next one, flexibility. If you have different clients at the same time, you should also switch a little bit. Different style depends who are you and who are you working with. That also help a lot. And the best way actually to start to practice is just start to practice tomorrow. Once I learned about this, I started to use on my clients, on my colleague, on my friends, on my dates, whatever. Like, you just have to apply it and you will remember all those things very naturally, and it doesn't become a lot of work for you. But just start to apply for it. Sometimes people my clients start to talk to me after 2 sentences, I'm just like, oh, I'm just like, hey, you are persister like me, or hey, you are like thinker like me, and they all very appreciate learning the new knowledge, and so yeah. The next, set clear expectation. I think this is nothing just about the communication style, right? You always should set clear expectation with whether it's a time frame, whether it's deliverable, whether it's the result goal that you agreed. Of course, one thing I think a lot of people also probably forget about is like how often you should communicate with each other. Like, should you have a call once a week to check the progress, or you just do email exchange? I think that's also very important steps to have. And also, in terms of understand people's communication, it's very easily you can understand from their email communication, when you do video call, how do they talk and how do they write. That's where you can learn about your counterpart, like what style do they have. Yeah. Okay. I actually would like to know, what are your current challenge that you think could be used here, or even if not, we can all discuss openly about here. So, or if you have any, you realize after this, or which style you have some question regarding your current challenges, feel free to write and we can look into that. Okay, I think this is probably today we are going a lot faster than I thought. So this is our conclusion of the PCM, but I would like to see if you have some challenges that you would like to discuss here. And also from our previous question, August shared, I think I'm thinker because I don't believe self-reporting. I'm not quite sure what does that mean, self-reporting. Like you have to report to whom? I'm not quite sure if I understand what does that mean, self-reporting. So the next one is Stephanie or said thinker maybe, but in a team with different necessary expertise only, and the need to structure because client does not know. Okay. So you think you probably the most dominant is a thinker, but you are not so sure. But I would be very interested to know what do you think it would be the second dominant language do you have for the search. So if you look all together, you will have a better and clear picture. Like I said, I am most dominant persister, then thinker, then promoter. And so that's why I'm a workshop trainer. I'm talking on the stage all the time and webinar. Yes, you can do a test online. So next question, is there a scientifically grounded way to determine one's dominant and PPI? PPI, I don't know. I mean, here it's called PCM, so I don't know if you mean like this PCM, but you can definitely go on their official website to test, which you have to pay. And then you will have very detailed report about which style you have. Yeah. So yes, so I did that test so that I know very clear which ones are top 3 I have. Yeah, but I don't think you necessarily need to do it. After I did it, I was also pretty sure before I did it, I was sure like it's probably persister and thinker and promoter. So I think if you understand your communication pattern, then it doesn't have to spend that money, I would say. Yeah, okay. So anyone else have the questions?
I think we'll just let August type a little bit. In the meantime, I'll let you read that one out. Where can the participants, also those who are watching this once it's recorded, find you, or can they ask you questions somewhere else?
Sure, please do. Okay, so maybe I'll bring it to a little bit a conclusion of this. I think a lot very often I get a question after, especially if the topic was around job interview and stuff like that, people would ask me like, oh, it sounds like very manipulative way. But I think you don't have to change who you are. You just have to communicate more effectively. So the same kind of a sentence, if you can restructure and change the way that you put emphasis on, doesn't mean change who you are or how you want to describe, express some things. So it's just help you to connect people more and effectively communicate more that help you your workplace and also working with your clients. So but funny, I feel like those questions I get very often on job interview, but if I do the workspace, that's less question I will get. Yeah. So by tailoring this communication to your client style, you can enhance collaboration and prevent misunderstanding, increase client satisfaction in your freelance work. So that's why I think it's a great tool to learn. Yeah. So if anyone else still have questions, and I am happy to connect you over here.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Irene. Always really interesting to think about your own communication style and who you're in contact with daily at work, whether you're a freelancer or not, and how those different styles come into play, and how we might be not really, the message might not really be, in German, ankommen or arriving at the other person if we're using the wrong kind of communication style. So always super interesting. I'll just give, I think Roy is typing. I will just give him a second. Oh, it was a thank you. You're very welcome. Thank you again, Irene. It was really, really lovely having you again. And we wish you and everyone else a lovely evening.
Yes, thank you very much for the invitation, and nice to meet you all. And connect me on LinkedIn if you have any question, if you want to get to know more about this, and I'm happy to jump on a call and discuss more. Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.